Kia ora team, welcome to this edition of the Law Lounge. Today we'll be looking at match officials and also advantage and the knock-on and throw forward laws. So again, we take our resources from a wider range of places. Two main spots for these. So obviously our World Rugby laws of the game. We touch on 3 laws today. So Law 6, match officials, Law 7 for advantage, and Law 11 for the knock-on and throw forward. We also pull their definitions as well. And today we dip into the playing charter, particularly when we talk about our match officials, and also a special section around match official signals as well. And as always, on our Bad Plenty Rugby website, we have our laws section, education, and our introduction to rugby refereeing, which are excellent resources as well. We'll start off with a few key definitions that'll help us out today. So when we're talking about the attacking team, that's the opposition to the team whose half is taking place. So irrespective of who's in possession, the attacking team is if you are not in your half, then you're the attacking team. So if you're beyond, behind, or in front of a position, which means both feet. So the captain is the player nominated to lead that team. And they're the ones that consult with the referee as well. Again, defending team is opposite to the attacking team, so if players in your half, you are the defending team. Forward means towards the opposition dead ball line. Used to be sort of referred to as the goal line. However, you can play something forward in the end goal, so we always talk about the dead ball line. The match organiser, so that's any administrative body which is responsible for the match. Obviously, international level, it's World Rugby. Local level, for example, you'd have Bay Plenty Rugby Union as a match organiser, and anywhere in between. Pass, so that's a player throws or hands the ball to another player. Definition of a pass. Ball's played at, it means it is intentionally touched by a player. And possession refers to control of the ball, but also attempting control as well. So that's important, particularly when it comes to our knock-on law as well. So I'll kick off with advantage. So the principle of advantage is to allow the game to keep going. So the referee can, even if there's been an infringement, a team who's not at fault may still have the ball, and we don't want to blow, the referees don't want to blow their whistles and stop the game. The game's about continuity, so this allows us to have continuity within the game. The definition of advantage is it has to be clear and real. It has to either be tactical or territorial after an infringement. So it doesn't just mean the opportunity of an advantage. So again, so it could be tactical, so which means that the non-offending team is free to play the ball as they wish. The territorial means that they have moved forward towards the offending team's dead ball line. And it could be a combination of both of those things as well. In particular, you get this in closer to the goal line, or where you are on the field will determine the length or the breadth of an advantage as well. Again, as I mentioned before, it must be clear and real. So not just the opportunity to get an advantage is not sufficient. There must be a natural advantage. So let's look at when advantage ends. So again, it is completely subjective to the referee, but they do have some guiding principles. So when the referee feels as though they've gained an advantage, the non-offending team has gained advantage, they allow play to continue. But if they feel that they have not gained an advantage, then they can stop the game and apply the sanction for which the advantage was being played for. So here we have some examples of advantage being played. A knock on by red, being accidentally offside. Gold has the ball though, so the referee's played advantage for gold. And called advantage over, which means that they've made, in this case, if we look back at our definitions, so tactical, they've been able to play the ball as they wish, so they've got possession and they've been able to play without pressure. and territorial, they've actually moved forward up towards the opposing team's their ball line. So they have made significant gaining ground from where the original offence took place. In this place, it was just only ever for a scrum. We'll just look at this clip, which shows us advantage ending.
Advantage, flanker.
So in this case, a penalty advantage has been played for blue, for black leaving the scrum early, not being bound. They've gone backwards in terms of territory. They're under pressure as well. So in this case, no advantage to blue. They've come back to the subsequent penalty at the scrum time. I would suggest, however, that the 9 running away from the scrum in particular was deceptive, and is what triggered the players. But that's neither here nor there. Okay. Advantage also ends if the non-offending team commits an infringement. So if they are under advantage and then they commit an infringement before they've gained the advantage, then the referee must stop the game and apply the sanction for the first infringement. However, if either or both of those infringements are for foul play, then the referee must apply the appropriate sanctions. So that is either an admonishment or cards if necessary.
And the Six Nations match against the Irish, and so there has some
confidence
from there, but that's the first knock-on of the game. Zanon just taking his eye
Green's
off
got
the
position, but then they've
wanting the players to sort it out,
gone backwards a wee bit. They've made no advantage yet. Then Blue's over the ball with rights to it, which means that Green is then infringed by holding on to the ball.
So an opening
They're always under
play,
pressure.
Rory,
They've gone backwards in terms of territory. There's no advantage. So referee blows the whistle and comes back for the scrum to Green.
Couple of mistakes in there, but all straight off the kickoff. Beautiful box kick by Johnny Stewart. And look.
So if the offending team commits a second infringement, from which no advantage is gained, so there might be, again, it could be a knock-on or it could be a penalty followed by another penalty, then the referee stops playing and gets the captain from their non-offending team to choose the most advantageous sanction. So you might have a penalty for offside in the middle of the field, and then you're under advantage, you carry on playing, and then you make it upfield a little bit, but closer out to the sideline, and then the other team infringes again, and then the referee blows the whistle for a penalty. The team then, because they were still playing advantage from the first infringement, the team has the option of choosing which place they want that penalty, either for the first infringement or the second. And in some cases, that's usually comes down to either an advantageous kicking position, either at goal or at touch. So advantage is not applied in the following situations, and the referee must blow the whistle. So if the ball touches the referee or the player in position touches the referee and an advantage is gained by either side, then whistle straight away. The ball comes out at either end of the tunnel at the scrum, or the scrums were more than 90 degrees or more than 45 at a under 19s game. If the players force or lifted upwards, so they're no longer in contact with the ground of the scrum, again, that's dangerous. Therefore, the referee must blow the whistle to stop that action from continuing. If there's a quick throw, free kick, or a penalty taken incorrectly, again, they can't allow that advantage to play on. They must just blow the whistle and get it to be retaken. Or if the ball is made dead, so advantage can't apply once the ball's made dead. Or if there's anything that happens where it's dangerous to let play continue, particularly if there's an injured player on the ground and players getting near them, then advantage can apply in that situation. Or if there's an act which is an infringement, but then starts to become dangerous, then referee can't continue to apply advantage. Again, there's the injury reference there. So now we move on to our knock-on or throw forward law. The sanction for a knock-on or a throw forward is a scrum. For a knock-on only, not for a throw forward. So if the ball goes into touch from the knock-on, then the non-offending team can actually choose to take the quick throw or line out as well, instead of the scrum. So it'd either be a scrum where the knock-on happened in the scrum zone, or a line out or quick throw from where the ball went out. Or however the law is applied. So if it's knocked on directly into touch without bouncing first, then it would be a line out or a quick throw in line with where it last touched the player. So the knock-on definition of a knock-on. So when a player loses possession of the ball and it goes forward, or when a player hits the ball forward with a hand or arm, or if it hits the hand or arm and goes forward, and the ball touches the ground or another player before the original player can catch it. So long story short is that if you are trying to catch the ball, or if you have the ball and then it hits someone else, and you're not currently holding it before you're able to regather it, then it's a knock-on. So the definition of a throw forward is when a player throws or passes the ball forward, and that is to say if the arms of the player passing the ball move forward, which has always caused a lot of contention and debate, but that's the best marker of that we have. Looking at a knock-on, first of all, when does it occur? So it can occur anywhere in the playing area. So the playing area includes the field of play and the in-goal area. And it's a knock-on when a player, if they're attempting to make a tackle or do actually make a tackle, if they contact the ball with their arm or hand and the ball travels forward from them, then that is a knock-on as well, from that player making the tackle. And there's an example of that here.
Away off the left boot of Matt Kitto, but only finds Farrell, and he's walloped back by a man we've been talking about a lot in the build-up, Michael Hooper, the Wallaby open side, sitting alongside us up in the commentary box tonight. Two men who know all about the pressure of big nights like this, the pressure of beating Australia on
goal,
the
making the tackle,
World Cup winner,
balls contact the arm of goal and travel forward from goal, so it is a knock-on from goal, not from wide.
Well, Ben and I have had the pleasure and privilege to play
an intentional knock-on. So this is where a player, they cannot intentionally knock the ball forward. So intentionally means that they are playing at that ball. They have made an intentional act to play at the ball. And again, if you look back at the definition of knock-on, that is where they don't regather it, or are not in a realistic position to gather it, and we'll talk about that shortly. So it is a penalty sanction for an intentional knock-on. So it's not an intentional knock-on if they knock it forward, but if there's a reasonable expectation that they could regain possession. So if they knock it forward and then they are able to get their hands close to it, and they might bobble it again and then drop it, that is just a knock-on, because they could have reasonably regathered the ball, or if they knock the ball forward, but then are tackled. If the ball hasn't travelled very far forward, and the referee believes that they could have reasonably regathered that, then it's just a knock-on. Of course, they can actually be tackled after they've knocked the ball forward with their hands, because they're in the act of acquiring possession of the ball, so they're not being tackled off the ball. But if they knock it forward and it travels far out of a reasonable area, reasonable distance away from them, and there's no realistic reasonable expectation that they could have regathered it, then it's an intentional knock-on. Here we have some examples of it.
Again, looks for territory first. It's taken, and now first touch there for Shield. Across the field they go. Zanen looked to try and steal it, but it's gone backwards, and now Crosby scored a try in the first half.
This is a good example of an intentional knock-on.
Yeah, Nick Berry deciding that it was a deliberate knock-on there from Marco Zanen, but another little look at Darcy Graham. He tried to find some edge and space on the outside. Zanen got his hand in. A deliberate King. We know that.
To the Italian.
Here's another wee look of Darcy.
Okay, so blue in possession,
Graham,
throws the pass. White sticks his hand out and knocks the ball. So they've intentionally knocked the ball forward with the hand or arm. There is no reasonable expectation that they could gain possession. The ball's gone too far ahead of them for them to be able to reasonably catch it.
Zanin with a lazy hand,
and
no
it's gone
attempt to
to ground.
intercept the ball.
Which means
Trying to find the space here, Zanin. Out
You'll
he
quite
goes.
often see this depending on the context of the game, because it's an intentional act and it's a negative act. You can often see this carded as well. So particularly in sevens, this is automatically a yellow card, this act. If there was an overlap or a significant chance at an attacking opportunity, then you may see a card for that also. If there was an opportunity for a try, and a probable try would have been scored, then you're going to see a yellow card and a penalty try usually. So these following acts are not knock-ons. So even though the ball travels forward off the hand or arms, play continues if these happen. So if a player knocks the ball forward immediately after an opponent has kicked it, which is known as a charge down, so that's them making a play at the ball straight away after it's kicked. And by straight away, it means directly from the boot or close to it. It doesn't mean it, so it means that the ball has really just left the boot of the player, or not far off it. It's not when the ball travels downfield, sort of closer to when it's been caught. It's really just at the point of the kick. If they knock it forward with the hand or arms, it's not a knock-on, it's a charge down. But also, if a player rips or knocks the ball from an opponent and the ball goes forward from the opponent's hand or arm. So this has misled a few people. This refers to there's no knock-on from the original ball carrier. So we'll show a clip in a second, but if the original ball carrier has the ball and then it's ripped out of their grasp and travels forward from them, it travels forward from the original ball carrier after being ripped out, it's not a knock-on from that original ball carrier because it's been played out by someone else and they're ripped out. However, the ripper, the person who rips it out, depending on the direction that it goes, it could be a knock-on from them, and we'll see that in this next video.
Italians on defence. Ireland yet again play one out. Beautiful work from Zanin. Just stole it and ripped it clear, and now they look to kick in. Italians on defence.
Cool. So in this play, we see green carrying the ball forward, blue attempting to make a tackle,
play one,
and blue 13 before the tackle's completed, they have ripped the ball out. So the ball has travelled forward from green. However, this is not from the act of green losing possession of the ball. This is from the act of blue ripping it out. The ball's travelled forward from green but backwards from blue. So in which case, there's no infringement here. There's no knock-on from green. The ball's travelled backwards from blue, so there's no knock-on from blue. Play continues.
Beautiful work from Zanin. Just stole it from Zanin. Just stole it and ripped it clear, and now they look.
And a throw forward. So this is also known as a forward pass. The key action here, as we talked about before, is the forward movement of the arms, not just the ball. Quite often, particularly when players are running at full pace or running and then passing from one player to another, then even an action from the point of the ground. The reason you can't measure a forward pass just from being the point on the ground from which it was passed to the point of the ground from which it was caught, because any two players running up the field towards the opposition dead ball line, once that ball is passed, even if it's passed backwards behind them, the ball on the player and everyone is still travelling forwards. So the ball can still be caught in a position that is ahead of where it was thrown. However, the ball realistically, and everyone's playing to see for everyone, that the ball was actually passed backwards behind the person running. So, which is why the definition of the forward arm movement comes into play. Again, it's a call that assistant referees and referees make that they should be 100% sure of. If they think it might have been, then it probably wasn't. And again, it's probably best for referees to err on the side of not calling them than calling them if they have any doubt around it. So a throw forward can occur anywhere within the playing area, which includes the field of play and the in goals. The sanction for it is a scrum. However, a player cannot intentionally throw or pass the ball forward. This is very, very rarely seen. However, this prevents the game from turning into American football. Here we have a good example of a forward pass.
Running, you can almost hear the theme tune blaring out.
The last pass is forward.
Sure, she'd love to have her own theme tune.
Yeah.
Rocky Clark. Here it is.
Blue two.
Okay, so white. Try and look at the actions of the arms here. So white receives the ball. They're passing the ball to their winger.
Here it is.
Blue two.
And so you can see they're running laterally across field anyway, which makes it this easier to see. However, the action of their arm is in the first instance forwards. So their arms do come back around afterwards. However, at the point of release, their arms are motioning forwards towards the opposition dead ball line, or in a forward manner. And then they brought around, and the ball, because of that point of release, and the arms facing forwards, the ball then naturally follows that path that the arms were projecting, and the ball travels clearly forward out of the hands. And it's very well shown by the fact that the white player then has to reach considerably to reach it to gain possession.
Forward, isn't it? Lydia Thompson trying to.
Okay, on to our match official section now. So this match official section covers a lot of small things in play as well, and just a few of the regulations around what actually happens on the field. So it's not just about who the referee is and how they get appointed, but it does cover that as well. So there are match officials who control each game. There's a referee and either 2 touch judges or assistant referees. There are also other people involved. Could be reserve referees, reserve ARs, TMOs, timekeepers, match doctors, team doctors, non-play members of the teams, and the ball persons as well, and anywhere in between. So there's, particularly for professional level games, there are a number of extra personnel that are appointed to. Okay, so assistant referees and touch judges are responsible for signalling touch and goal, successful kicks at goal. Now, assistant referees themselves have additional duties. So anything that the referee directs them to take control of, and so that comes down to their pre-match conversations and pre-match preparation as to whatever the referee wants from their assistant referees. And that can include the reporting of foul play. So that does include the reporting of foul play. So that is an assistant referee's core duty, is foul play as well. However, touch judges really have limited responsibilities. It's really just about signaling touch and goal, and kicks a goal. So before we dive into the actual law, we'll look at the playing charter and where that fits for match officials. So again, I've pulled up a graphic on the side here. If you haven't seen this before, it's integrity, passion, solidarity, discipline, and respect, the core values of rugby. So always be mindful when doing anything with playing, coaching, refereeing. This is what overarches everything that we do within rugby. So a section about law application in the playing charter, which applies obviously really well to our match officials. So the laws must be applied so that the game is played according to the principles of play, which is continuity, and there's a large amount of principles of play which we could go into. However, the match officials achieve this through fairness, consistency, sensitivity, and when appropriate, management. This is the beautiful thing about our game, is that these are laws and not rules. Rules are hard and fast. Laws, however, allow this paragraph here. So the application of law needs to be fair, consistent, sensitive, and managed. Again, affords the match official the ability to apply the laws in the way that is best fit for the game. And the responsibility of coaches, captains, and players to respect the authority of the match officials. And if we have all that working harmoniously, then we have an outstanding game of rugby. So, referee appointments, who actually referees the game? So the referee is appointed by the match organizer. If there's no referee appointed, then the two teams agree on a referee. And if they can't agree, then the home team appoints a referee. So there's always an out there. And of course, local competitions might have extra stipulation within that as well. But that comes down to match organizer instructions. So match organizer, remembering that definition, is usually a local body for example, Bay Plenty Rugby here, World Rugby for international games. If the referee is unable to complete the match, then there are replacements appointed by the match organizer's instructions. But if there's no instructions, then the referee appoints a replacement. And if the referee can't appoint, then a home team appoints a replacement. So again, there's always a way of having a referee. Looking at our small blacks laws though, so there's a bit of extra wording around this. So no suitable referee. So suitable being the referee trained to apply the laws at the different stages of small blacks law. So they're beginning, playing, rugby referees. Then if the home team can't provide a suitable referee, then it goes to the visiting team to provide a suitable referee if they have one. So in which case, you just want the referee available who's best equipped to manage that game and manage the safety of that game. In saying that, we recommend that, although it doesn't always happen, it's recommended that one referee then controls the entire match, just to ensure that the paragraph we talked about before, consistency, can be applied. So the pre and post match duties of a referee or match officials. So the referee organises the toss. However, they don't actually perform it. So they get one of the captains to toss a coin, and the other captain calls. It is completely up to the referee or the captains as to who does toss that coin. There's no law around that. The winner of the toss then decides whether to kick off or to choose an end. They don't choose to receive. So if the winner of the toss decides to choose an end, which in effect is receiving, that means that the opponents must kick off, and vice versa. And then the opposite happens at halftime, for the start of the second half. So pre-match, so the match officials must inspect the players' clothing and studs. That's a minimum. In New Zealand here, we also check that we've got our mouth guards as well. And any of the playing clothing and studs and whatnot must conform to law. So Law 4, which we'll go into in another law lounge, talks about player clothing. Regulation 12 talks about what that clothing must be like. We won't dive into that right now. But by doing this act of checking the clothing, it means that if then the player is wearing something that's illegal or not conforming during the game, by the fact that they've already been checked by the referee, then if the referee didn't ask them to remove it and then they're caught during the game wearing it, then they can't be sent off for that, but they can be asked to remove it at that point. However, if the referee did notice something and then asked them to remove it, but they didn't remove it, and then they were seen wearing it again or doing it again during the game, then at that point the player could be sent off for misconduct. So many competitions also require front row players to make themselves available for a scrum safety briefing. This isn't required by law, but again is best practiced and is practiced by and encouraged in almost every referees association club at all, across the world that I've ever seen, and is best practice so that the referees and the players are on the same page about safety and how they're going to manage safe scrums that day. After the match, the referee communicates the score to the teams and the match organizer, so it is on the referee to keep that score. And also if there's any send-offs, so red cards at least, then the referee gives a written report about the infringement as soon as possible. And again, local competitions here will have different regulations around this. So they might have reporting around yellow cards, they might have reporting around timeframes around reporting. So here in the Bay of Plenty, it's 48 hours, and that just allows the processes afterwards to follow, particularly around judiciary. So during the match, so the referee is the sole judge of fact and law during the match, so which means that they are the only one that what they say goes. If they decide something happened, then it happened. If they just apply a law in a certain way, then that's the way it's applied. They are mandated, though, to apply the laws fairly in every match. And most referees that I've ever encountered have always tried to do that. Referee also keeps the time and the score. The match organizer could appoint a timekeeper, though, who does signal the end of each half. And the referee gives permission for players to access and leave the playing area when it's safe to do so. So that's everything from substitutions, injuries, things like that. And also players returning from sin bin. Whistle, when does a whistle go? So the referee has a whistle and blows it. They blow at the beginning and end of each half to stop play, and they can stop play at any time. When there's a score or a touchdown, if they're going to caution or send off a player, then they blow it then, but then they blow it a second time when the subsequent penalty or penalty try is awarded. So it's an initial whistle for the sanction, and then a subsequent whistle for then what's happening next, either penalty or penalty try. So the whistle also goes when the ball becomes dead, except for a failed conversion kick, or when the ball becomes unplayable, when there's a penalty, a free kick, or a scrum, or when it would have been dangerous to let play continue, or if there's a suspected serious injury, the whistle must be blown. Some primary signals that you'll see on the ground. We're not going to cover all the secondary signals, which are the ones that come after these, but these are the minimum of what a referee needs to signal, so that players, spectators, coaches, everyone watching know what the next action is or what is happening next in the game. So these indicate the outcome of a decision that's been made, and they're used in conjunction of the whistle where appropriate. So scrum, arms directly out and whistle blown. Normally you hear a reasonably short whistle for a scrum. Free kick as well is arm directly up at 90-degree right angles, elbow bent. Again, a relatively short whistle for a free kick. Penalty is on an angle, so high, but on an angle towards the team receiving the penalty. So they're being awarded the penalty and get to play the ball next. Again, whistle, however, this whistle is typically much longer. Advantage, it doesn't carry a whistle with it, it just has the arm out in the direction of the team who is to receive, so the non-offending team. So they're receiving either the penalty or the free kick or the scrum or whatever the sanction that's going to be applied. There's no difference for an advantage signal depending based on what the infringement was. For a try and a penalty try, the arm is directly up above the head. It doesn't necessarily need to point in a certain direction, but it is accompanied by a long whistle. No try, typically not used in community rugby, but usually used in rugby where there is a TMO. So after a TMO decision, normally if there's no try, then that signal is made by waving the arms across in front. And the other primary signal is a 22-metre dropout. So if the ball is either touchdown or goes dead, and the result is a 22-metre dropout, then whistle is blown and the 22 is pointed to by the referee. So those are our primary signals that exist. Again, secondaries are what follow after that to then indicate what infringement has happened. But we won't go into those because there are many and ever evolving. Dead ball. So we talked about the ball being dead before in terms of the whistle being blown. Of course, now the whistle's blown whenever the ball's dead except for a foul conversion. So the ball is dead in these following instances. It's either touch or touch and goal. Try, penalty, or drop goal has been scored or a conversion attempted. The ball or ball carrier touches the dead ball line or anything beyond it, or the ball is grounded in goal. or the ball hits anything above the playing area. So all those then make the ball dead. The whistle must go at a dead ball. The only exception from that list is if the conversion is missed. Contact with the referee. So if the ball or ball carrier touches the referee or any other non-player, now note it just says ball or ball carrier. That has nothing to do with opposition players, defending players, anything like that. As so famously pointed out, attention was drawn to in a All Blacks French test a few years ago. So if neither team gains an advantage, then play just carries on. They've had no effect on the game. You just let play carry on. But if there is an advantage for either team, so either one team is disadvantaged by it, or one team gets an advantage from it and can play differently, then a scrum must be awarded. So the scrum is awarded to the team that last played the ball. So if the ball carrier touches the referee or another non-player in the end goal, so this is just referring to the end goal area, and either team gains an advantage. So irrespective of which team does gain the advantage, if either team does gain an advantage, and if the ball carrier touching the referee, then if the attacking player was in possession of the ball, so that's the attacking player with possession touching the referee, then it's a try. But if it was a defending player in possession touching the referee, then it's a touchdown. However, it's different. So if the ball is touched by the referee or another non-player, then it becomes the referee's judgment as to what would have happened next. So let's say it just hits the referee or it hits a spectator or someone who happens to be in the field of play or something like that. Not in the field of play, in the end goal. Then the referee either awards a try or a touchdown, depending on what they consider would have happened. So they would have judged the scene around them, seen who was close, the most likely person to make the next play. And if there's any doubt as to what would have happened next, so if there are two players from each team, a player from each team simultaneously close by who could have forced something, then that's to be viewed as a simultaneous grounding. In which case it comes out. It's not a try. However, it comes back to the 5-metre line for an attacker scrum. So assistant referees and touch judges, we'll talk a little bit about the definition between the two of them and what their roles are. We've already talked a bit about the basic roles of ARs and TJs. So I'm just going to refer to them as ARs and TJs just for clarity here. So there are two assistant referees or ARs or two touch judges, TJs, for every match. So unless these are appointed, then each team must provide a TJ. So a match organiser could also nominate a person to act as a replacement for the ARs. They call this person the reserve AR, also known as a number 4 in some circles. So the referee they have control over the ARs and TJs, and the referee can do any of these following things with them. So they can tell them what their duties are and may overrule their decisions. They can consult with their ARs about matters relating to their duties. So again, the ARs can end up with extra duties, anything that is appointed to them by the referee. And then the referees then can go and consult with the AR about that. TJs, however, don't really have any extra duties other than what we outlined previously with touch and goal, and where the end winners kick a goal. They can consult with them about timekeeping, and they can consult with ARs about law relating to foul play. They can request assistance in all other aspects of the referee's duties. So again, that's really around the ARs in particular. Or if they want to talk with a TJ around it, they can go and talk to a TJ to gather an opinion. They can alter a decision after a TJ or AR raise their flag to signal touch and goal, or if an AR has signalled foul play. So a decision might have been made by the referee. However, if the subsequent flag is raised or signalling a foul play, then that decision can be changed upon consultation. Referee can ask that a touch judge be replaced if they feel that they're unsatisfactory. So that's completely up to the referee. They can also actually send off a TJ, so actually it's effectively red card a a touch judge and make a report. They'll then have to make a report to the match organiser if they feel as though that touch judge is actually guilty of misconduct, for acting intentionally unlawful. So an AR or a TJ during a match. So during the game, so each assistant referee or touch judge carries a flag, and in which they signal their decisions. There's one AR or TJ for each side of the ground. They remain in touch except when judging a kick and goal. Now, that is the law. However, again, ARs can be, ARs in particular, particularly at higher levels, can be encouraged to move inwards sometimes. There might be a set piece, like a scrum that's further in field, or there could be something that, in which case they are helping the referee to manage again that I guess power is given to them by the referee in the conversation pre-match. So when judging kick a goal, the AR or TJ stands behind each goalpost, and they raise their flag if the ball goes over the crossbar and between the posts. That indicates the goal. So an AR may enter the playing areas. This is in addition to what I was talking about before. They can enter to report foul play. However, that's only done at the next stoppage and when the referee allows it as well. So these are our basic AR and TJ signals. So kick at goal, successful, flag goes straight up. Touch and team to throw in, so flag up and then pointing towards the team throwing in. And foul play is arm raised, flag raised out horizontally, parallel to the ground. So signaling touch, again, there when the ball carrier's gone to touch, the AR TJ holds the flag up, stands at the place of the throw and points to the team who's entitled to throw in. And when the ball is thrown in, they lower the flag, except for when one of these things happens. So if the player throwing in puts any part of either foot in the field of play, so that's an incorrectly taken throw. So they keep their flag up in that instance. If the team not entitled to throw in has done so, so the team who isn't, if the team who put the ball out, because they ran the ball out, and then it's the other team's throw, if that team who ran the ball out tries to throw in again, then there's been no correct throw taken, so the AR keeps or TJ keeps their flag up. And if it's a quick throw, so if the ball went to touch and is replaced by another ball, and after it went to touch, or it was touched by anyone except the ball carrier who took it into touch, or the player who takes the throw. If it was touched by anyone else at all, then a quick throw is attempted to be taken, then the AR or TJ must keep their flag up. So because a correct quick throw is not being taken, because it must meet those conditions for a quick throw to be taken. However, it is for the referee and not the AR or the TJ to decide whether the ball was thrown in from the correct place. So even if the ball is thrown in ahead of the mark or from an incorrect place that the AR or TJ believes it was, if the ball is thrown in correctly, at least, so all the other parts of throwing in the ball are correct, then the AR or TJ must still put their flag down. However, it's usually best practice for the AR or TJ, if they notice these things, to then communicate with the referee in some way that the ball was not thrown in from the correct place, but their flag is not the way to do that. So signalling foul play. So foul play can be signalled in the following manner. Again, this is purely an AR responsibility, not a touch judge. So they may give authority to the AR to signal foul play, and they do that by holding their flag horizontally and pointing it infield. So if they do signal foul play, the AR stays in touch and continues to carry on all other duties until the next stoppage. So best to hang the flag out, carry on with the duties, take it down after a period of time, carry on, and then once you've got the referee's attention or communicated with the referee in some way, the referee will invite the AR into the playing area, or they'll go across and have a chat with them, and then based on the advice or the conversation, take the appropriate sanction or appropriate action. And then if this leads to a player being sent off, then an AR must submit a written report about the incident to the referee as soon as possible after the match. So AR reports to the referee. Referee then uses that report to report back to the match organizer. So anyone else who coming into the field of play? So we have first aid and medics, immediate care persons, so that could be physios, things like that, who they can enter the playing area to attend to injured players at any time that it's safe to do so. So they don't need permission first. And the following people may also enter without the referee's permission. However, they can't interfere with play or make any comments to the match officials. Note that last part for some people. So water carriers can come on. They can come on only during a stoppage in play for an injury, or when a try has been, or after a try has been scored. They can't come on at any other time. And then a person carrying a kicking tee after teams indicated to kick a goal or a try has been scored, then they can come on and bring the kicking tee. Now, if the person carrying the kicking tee to coming on for a conversion, they can bring some water with them if they like, because you can come on for water after a try has been scored. However, if the person's carrying a kicking tee and they're coming on for a penalty kick, a goal, then they can't bring water with them because it's not a water stoppage in play and play is still live. Coaches attending to their teams at halftime can also enter the field of play. And other people involved in the match, so the management of replacements. So again, all law says that replacements have to happen with the referee's permission. However, that that is shifted to often shifted to sideline match officials appointed by the match organizer to manage those replacements. So when it says the referee's permission, more often than not, it means it also takes into account the sideline match officials managing those. And that's usually at Premier level games, first class, professional. And lastly, to do with NZR game priorities, to do with management and communications. This is around, particularly around players and their interactions with match officials. So this is really not just an NZR, but also a World Rugby crackdown as well. So it's not acceptable for players to yell or wave arms at referees demanding a decision in their favour. This is dissent, and again will be firmly enforced moving forward. Probably particularly, obviously, the referee is an obvious one where players trying to get a decision out of the referee. However, quite often it happens where an AR is nearby some play and may not see something, or they're focusing on their core role, and players near the side then start to yell or wave their arms at them, or questioning or demanding a decision from the AR as well. So in which case that is dissent as well and can be penalised. Again, team captains are the main communicators with referees. And that's with the referee, so they communicate with the referee. It really should be minimal communication with players and assistant referees at least. All right, thanks I'll just check the questions. No, there's no questions in there today. So unless there's anything that anyone's got, really appreciate you guys joining me today. We'll be diving into our malls next up on our next Law Lounge Thursday, and then we'll have 2 more sections to go. So we'll be covering off the who, what, when, and where of rugby next Monday, and then ending up with the doozy with foul play next Thursday. So thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate it. We'll get this up online, and have a good one.